So I was really the last few years of my life has been around a lot of personal growth and business growth and relationship growth, and a lot of muscle building in ways that were new and uncomfortable and challenging to me. And many doorways were opened up, and I've met some incredible people in the past 2 years who have brought things into my life that I've been wanting and wishing and dreaming for, and sometimes tantruming and thundering at the heavens for, why is this and why isn't this here yet? I have so many of those things now answered in my life, and part of me is like, well, but what's next? How do I deepen all of this and take it to the point where the new horizon, because there's always a new horizon, at least for me. I'm going to try to use I statements more than make generalizations, but take whatever I say as you will, take it into your heart, process it, filter it out, throw it away if it's not useful to you, or tuck it in your back pocket, because that's cool too. It might show up later tomorrow. But inspiration for me is, as I walk this life journey more and more, it's something that I appreciate more and more, not so much from that mindset of a child, though that's still very relevant. Whereas playfulness used to be this thing that was very natural. Over the years, it's become something that had to share space with other more pressing problems and adventures, like pain, physical pain. I've had a lot of that in my life, emotional, personal pain, walk in the spiritual shadow part of myself to dig into all the gold that was buried inside of pain and trauma and misunderstandings and all those things that we as humans get to wander through and enjoy. And so what I found kind of by instinct is that I am playful. And it's one of those parts that I just can't take away from myself. I never knew what I wanted to be when I grew up, not because I didn't want to grow up, but because I never saw anything in this world that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And the idea of being boxed in has always been very confining to me. So there's a rebel in me for sure in that regard. My spirit of play could never be dominated no matter what came into my life. It got subdued for a while, plenty of times. It got scared away plenty of times, but it always resurfaced. And what it brought with it each time was something that was always recognizable and safe and kind of like a home center of who I am. And each time it showed up, I realized I was showing up again. Even if I didn't like, even if it was on the tail end of a part of my life where I didn't like myself or like what was going on. What showed up when I was in a place of playfulness was immediately recognizable as pure, innocent, and connected to that which I'd been feeling disconnected from for some time, which was so much the source of the ongoing angst that I was feeling. A lot of the comfort that I get from spirit returns when I get playful. And sometimes I'm playful because I choose to be, and sometimes I'm playful because it's a knee-jerk reaction, part of that rebel showing up saying, I'm not going to accept the tone and tolerate what's in my head at the moment or what is around me at the moment. So I'll talk a little bit about that too. I'll try to stay on point, but really I've been thinking about this talk for the last, I guess, 5 weeks, and Annabella was great in helping me get some thoughts out the other day, and I've wrote some things down here to kind of keep me loosely organized, which I'm already way off topic. That's okay. Spirit has told me over and over again, which when you look at the people when you're there in the room, that's where we're going to really start to get some coherence. So I'm going to trust coherence is going to flow, and in 2020, hindsight, it'll have been a great talk. So I hope you get great stuff from it. So I want to start off with that co-creative aspect that you touched on too. One of the things that I've noticed about myself and about every other human being I've ever encountered is that no matter what's going on in their lives, we are co-creating with spirit with it. And that's significant in a lot of ways. There's an implication of sovereignty. We are each sovereign, sacrosanct, sacred souls. We are all walking our own unique spiritual journey. We are all part of a oneness at the same time. So life is full of seeming paradoxes and things that we can't, on a certain level, rectify. We can't. We always end up with some weird, odd remainder left over. But that's part of the fun part too, because the journey never ends. So we are sovereign. We have a free will, but we are also dropped into a universe of possibility and potential, the very size of which, scientifically speaking, the very size of which we just can't comprehend. But then on the micro level, the size there too is equally incomprehensible. Then on the mathematical level, numbers like 52 don't fit into our universe in really neat ways. You know, there's this continual expansion that blows our frame of mind to a certain degree. And maybe that's just part of the joke. Maybe that's just part of helping us to stay humble and fresh and realize that no matter how much we think we know, there's more that we can dig into and more that we can discover and explore. And so that potential within us as well is really what I wanted to focus on, because I know in my life, I have shortchanged my potential a lot. I've taken for granted the skills and how I earned them and how easy certain things are for me. I figure everyone can do this stuff. You know, I'm not special. You know, what do I have to offer that nobody else can take care of for themselves already? You know, and so that was an aspect of myself that I've had to learn to learn from, as opposed to fight or bury or hide or kind of stammer around and not know what to do with. So my own sovereignty has helped me realize that even though I might be embarrassed to say, I'm amazing. And each of you is amazing too. Not so I can feel comfortable saying I'm amazing, but literally because it's also true. You are amazing. Each of you is amazing. You may not know why you're amazing. You may have some ideas why you're amazing. Maybe there's a trophy up on your wall that helps you remember that you're amazing. Maybe there's family pictures to help you feel connected and how something around you is amazing. And from that surrounding amazingness, you can glean some piece of that for yourself and say, yeah, I guess I'm amazing too. But I hope that from today's talk, I can help you at least open up that door to your own amazing a little bit more, and maybe even walk into the room. I'm going to invite you to do that during the meditation later on. But also starting right now, if that door to your amazing space is in any way closed, at least go knock on it. At the very least, look at it. Sometimes that's hard because we can have shame, we can have pain, we can have embarrassing moments that pop up into our heads and you go, oh God, I can't believe I did that. You know? And that's amazing too. Allow it, allow the possibility. Let's take a moment and kind of open the box up, take it apart, throw it away entirely, and realize that maybe that potential, even in the shame, even in the painful stuff that we think is us at our worst, is maybe just a part of us drawing ourselves out to explore ourselves more. You know, triggers can be wonderful opportunities for growth and muscle building, and for making more mistakes to even do more growth from later too, and that's all right. There's really nothing wrong with any of it, you know. That's just the stories that we make, which is also part of what I hope to talk more about too, is the stories we make. We are, as sovereigns, we create through our thoughts, and that's one of the tenets of the Course in Miracles that I find really insightful and attractive, is that we do create our reality with our thoughts. And there's a lot of ways in which, you know, science tries to study that, metaphysics tries to study that, and we've been kind of having that conversation for probably millennia, and we'll continue to have it. What does it really mean? How much control do I actually have? Because if my thoughts create my reality, why don't I have wings? Why am I not a millionaire yet? Why is life not easier yet? Why hasn't this good thing happened yet? If I can just use my thoughts to control my reality, why am I not happy? Well, we have a limited number of elements that we do control. The most important is how we show up. And maybe the most relevant thing about being amazing is, if you don't see yourself as amazing, well, you're not going to show up with even the potential of your amazingness to show up with you. It'll be there. It'll be quiet. It'll be in the background. Maybe it'll, you know, come out forward and be inspired. But it's what we have in our heads and our thoughts and our hearts that really work together to create the person we show up as, and that sends out a frequency out into the world. It sends a tone for how we live our life. So how we show up is really important, and it has a lot to do with what's going on inside of us. Very little to do with what's going on outside of us, except for what we internalize and create stories around. But you guys know all this. You're all really great experts, and that's part of why this community is so great. But sometimes we need the reminder. I know I do. So this talk is as much for me as it might be for any of you as well. It's a chance for me to kind of stand in front of the mirror of myself and share it. And there's something about being seen, being heard publicly that is a little bit horrifying, but also really exhilarating. So I do enjoy it. So life is what we make of it, and our potential, I really want you all to hear this. Our potential is not defined or limited by public opinion or all of the, this is just how it is. Your potential is not defined by public opinion or anybody's thought of, this is just how it is, people. Deal with it, get used to it. get cozy with it. I mean, there are some things you got to get cozy with sometimes, sure, but that doesn't mean that that's the destination, the end point. Maybe that's just a new starting point. But your potential is not limited by public opinion, what others think, what you think others might think, all those fears. Your greatest fears, your worst moments, the most horrific mistake you've ever made in your life that still haunts you today. We all have one, at least one. It doesn't define your potential, and it doesn't put a cap on your potential either. It just doesn't. It may hold your energy. It may turn you into a puddle of jelly in some part of your body and realize, oh God, I'm still bothered by that, you know, and that's okay. All that's okay. It doesn't touch on your potential. Your potential is untarnished, entirely untarnished by what happens in your life. It's a piece of gold that is on the horizon and is the eternal horizon that we all seek in our lives. We think it's something outside of us, but we can only see in the world what's within us, what we're drawn to, what we have proclivities for. This comes from within us. There's a seed of potential. There's a soul. You are a soul having human experience, and we can explore that on all levels, not today. But again, I just want to really drive that home, because we think our potential, or I'll make a nice statement again. I have often thought my potential was based on the useful skills I had. And my potential to make money was based on how well I could make connections and prove myself, and how popular I could be, not in that popularity contest, but just I never thought I could really deliver or was really wanted. And that was part of my upbringing, some of the trauma I experienced that bore deep wounds. And so I thought my potential was limited by my woundedness. And I've learned that it's not. I had to move through my woundedness in order to access my potential. And that is a real thing as well, I found for myself. And through that shadow walk, I found that I do have freedom. And I create my life through the freedom of my own will and the authority that I am the authority in my life, period. And each of you are the authorities in your life. There's no negotiation on that. So I want to get into inspiration a bit. Inspiration, my Latin understanding is not great. My mom is a Latin teacher, but what I do understand of inspiration as a word is the spirit within you. And spirit seeks to play with you. You have been created in love, and you've been placed in a universe of vast potential and a wonderful set of natural laws that help give us structure so we can actually create something sustainable, enjoyable that we can experience. It's a perfect balance that we are never out of balance with. And we have an invitation from spirit to play, to co-create. That's why we call ourselves co-creators. We're going to co-create something. We co-create our own misery, our own suffering, our own hell. We also create our own Eden, our own joy, our own paradise. We create it all. We create it together. And there's a really wonderful dynamic going on that as I create something in my life, I'm not creating it in isolation. I'm creating it in a universe that has the capacity and space to have billions of other people simultaneously creating alongside of me. And I can't control what they're creating. I can have an influence. I can maybe, put a spark out there. I can put my inspiration, my playfulness, my tone out into the world, but we're creating this world together. And I'm not going to like it, everything that we all, I might not like what Wendy creates in a certain day, or whoever creates in a certain day, or I might love this over that. That's just part of the mix, and that's part of the frustration, that's part of the experience, but nonetheless, we are called to be inspired. And this is, in my opinion, one of the truly great experiences that we can have. Think of a time in your life when you've been inspired. I mean, like head over heels inspired, you have energy to burn that you haven't had, it's gotten you up off of your sick bed. It's gotten you up out of a funk. You suddenly have energy and you can't stop to even eat because you're pursuing an energy of inspiration moving through you. Or maybe you open up in a moment and you don't know why you're stopping to talk to someone, but before you know it, something is moving through you and you are elated. Maybe you were in a bad mood a moment ago, but now you're almost overjoyed, ecstatic, euphoric, and you can't understand why, except you just know there's something flowing through you. That's spirit. The result of spirit moving through us is joy. We can still have anger, all the other stuff doesn't get pushed aside, but there's a sense of euphoria, a sense of, for lack of a better word, creativity flowing through us. When we're inspired, we literally have the spirit within us and we are in a rarefied state. Our vibration elevates. And when energy is more present, molecules separate. There's less density. That's rarefication. There's an expansion that we go through. The norms and this is a really cool part too. The norms and the boundaries that all the rules that we live with no longer hold us in the seat of our vision. We become transcended to our conditions, and we're given new eyes, new hearts, and can share in a divinely blessed perspective. The power of inspiration is truly transformative. It takes us into a whole new level, which is great because we're there already, but we don't always live and operate there. And that's okay. There's a whole spectrum, and we're never outside of divine providence. We're never outside of a place of creativity. It's just we create at different levels with different frequencies. I found that joy is the most common emotion that goes along with this. There's also exuberance, elation, and euphoria. Inspiration happens in a certain state when we are open. The Creator Spirit, the Holy Spirit, will always wait for us to be open. It may knock on the door, but it will never barge in. Again, that goes back to you being sovereign. We have to be open. We have to invite Spirit in. We're being called out to play. We have to actually leave our door and get out of ourselves and get out there and play. It's participation. That playing with Spirit is an invitation to come out of ourselves in our guardedness and participate in the miracle of life at a higher level. So think of a time in your life where this has happened. Maybe it's been recent, maybe it's been a while, but it's available to you right now. So let's just take a couple of seconds. And if you want, you can close your eyes or not. Open your heart. Spirit, we invite you into our hearts. For all those who are willing, I invite you into my heart to move me towards what I'm seeking, but to also move me towards the potential that maybe I've been missing. Awaken in me an awareness of my potential. Show me how great I am, how great I can be. Help me to feel what it's like at the exuberant level of creation. One of the ways that this can happen too is when we go into gratitude, it immediately opens our hearts. What are you grateful for in this moment? And that heart opening is the first step towards inspiration, where your soul reaches out and says, yes, I will play. Yes, Spirit, I will let you in to move through me. In this moment, take a few breaths. I invite you to receive Spirit into you. The Holy Spirit seeks to fill each of us up, and the invitation is to receive to overflowing. And from the overflow that we're really delighted to then serve and give and create from. For it doesn't all have to come from us. The most important part is how we show up. And so that's where we can get into that. What do we want to cultivate in our lives? How do we want to show up? So playfulness is an attitude of our own spirit that puts us in a receptive state to the Holy Spirit. Our minds, our hearts, our emotions, our bodies all open up to being inspired. But what does play look like? We've kind of touched on some of the different kinds of play. What does play look like? Well, there's the adventurer, there's the explorer, there's the dreamer and the visionary, there's the lover and the nurturer, right? There's the learning and the reading, and many, many more. But play enables us to break out of the box and explore our greater potential. And play can be destructive and constructive. It doesn't always have to be something where the blocks go up. Oftentimes, play starts with the blocks coming down. And that can be challenging, that can be triggering, that can be noisy, that can be loud, that can be chaotic. It can be a lot of fun. There's no right or wrong way to play, as long as you do not cause others or ourselves harm. I mean, there's certain, loving boundaries we like to have on things, but let's just, kind of pretend that there were no wrong way for you to engage in play. There were you can't do it wrong at all. Some might say, I'm not creative enough, or I don't have any hobbies. Okay, there's other ways to play. What awakens your heart? What brings you joy? What brings you gladness? Going on a walk. Play is a spirit, not an activity. I'll say it again. Play is a spirit, not an activity. That's why it's playfulness. So in my life, playing music has soothed my pain. I've experienced also music from the visionary sense, where in the group Zen sessions I played with, many of you know Eric Labaz. He and I played for years with a few others at various times, but in those collaborative groups, I would feel that each song was in its way a spirit, an expression of spirit, and it came through each of us and reassembled itself through us into the world to be tangible through the instruments that we gave it voice through. It was a very palpable experience. So play and spirit definitely create a very tangible movement in this world. It doesn't have to be music. It can be dancing. It can be, driving a car. Just so many ways to play. Building with Legos, models, building in trees, climbing in trees, adventuring. But at this point in my life, I've got a code that I do my best to live by. And it's that I want to be inspired and seek to inspire others every day. And I start every day with play. Sometimes it's learning, growing, watching something I'm interested on YouTube and learning. Sometimes it's, getting Wendy to laugh, because it's a lot of fun. She has a great laugh. Just so many ways, but I find playing is that thing I return to time and again, especially when I find I'm really frustrated, pissed off, angry, I'm not happy in my life. And I often have to be reminded of those moments, because I can careen headlong down those avenues too and get lost a bit. But play is the most direct U-turn, reroute, kind of Star Trek transporter back to my center. Doesn't always mean I'm happy or joyful all the time. Doesn't mean I don't get overwhelmed, tired, and frustrated and afraid. But being playful refreshes me and helps me to stay open to all my emotions. It redirects my thoughts and focus my creative actions to where I want to be. A lot of that happens in mindset, which, again, to Annabella's point, playing in the mindset realm is a lot of fun for me, because there's been a lot of stories that I've made over the years that, in challenging them, I find my life expands tremendously, about myself and about others. Go figure. Yeah. In conclusion, I want each of you to know and really hear this. You are a soul created in love, and you are invited by your creator to come out and play. So, thank you.